plastic. Why does it have to be plastic? Doesn't it show you that it works with no plastic, no kind of energy, but it's forming things? Doesn't that give you a basic, logical, rational understanding that, hold on a second, who made this?
No, it doesn't mean that somebody...
Can I just share a little story? So, on BBC Question Time, there was this guy, this famous clip online, this guy who was a militant atheist, right?
Okay.
And he was having this discussion about religion, this type of thing. And he actually gave the exact example that you gave, that he was studying the cell. And before that, he used to be a militant atheist. And the more he started looking at the cell, and he was somebody that was studying evolutionary biology at university,
right.
He looked at that and then he said, do you know what? I just don't think this could be by chance. So he did a process of elimination, and he inferred from that design. Now, what I see in the way that you're thinking is, you're thinking that's not enough, that his conclusion was wrong. You're saying there needs to be other markers which are there to point to God apart from design. Okay,
so just because something works in my brain, just because something works well doesn't mean it's been designed.
So Ali, 1 second.
It's something that I observe. So I'm not. The thing is, from my position, I'm not claiming to, if I see something, to then have the answer. Okay, I see.
What do you call it?
So just before that,
an object.
Well, something that would come about through unconscious processes.
The unconscious process.
Yeah, like there's a dichotomy, right?
So unconscious design.
Like surely anything is either designed or it has come about from
the point I'm trying to make is
forces of nature, like a snowflake.
The reason why that person's inference you would say is incomplete because you're looking for some other markers. Now, what I want you to do is, can you just specify what those markers are, firstly?
Yeah.
Two, can you specify why his inference is incomplete?
Okay, so like I said, the markers that I'm looking for is, so with the iPhone, the markers that I look for is things that I know are man-made, right? So like the plastic, whatever, right? So there are certain things in my life experience that I can see that humans make things and they have certain characteristics, right? So when I look at the cell, okay, I don't see, and that whole thing is based on having seen humans make things.
Okay,
right?
so I have a good example for you. Within the cell, we have rotors, we have valves, we have very similar mechanics to the sort of interior in any.
A lot of the time, human-made design, right? So, for example, planes, whatever,
is inspired by nature.
They are inspired by nature, right?
Yeah.
So you see that something works, okay, and you're like, oh, that works. You know, a wing creates lift, but birds are similar. You know, you try that, and then it works, so then you do it, and then it's become a man-made object.
So we learn it from nature. Sure.
A lot of the time,
but okay. So now we're getting to a good point.
Yeah.
You are absolutely correct. Times where we take inspiration from nature. For example, a good example is one of the Boeing planes. I think it's the A380. It had a very large wingspan, and it had a problem with turbulence as it was landing. So, based upon the design of the Eagle, it actually had these flaps to try and break the turbulence, right? So you're right. However, there are also times where human beings have come up with design independently, and then they found out that design also existed in nature. Yeah. So sometimes it's the opposite.
I'm really interested in that. What is that?
So, for example, there's certain things in nanotechnology which we've designed, and those things, when we look into the human cell, we actually find out that components pretty similar to what we've designed independently exist in nature.
But sorry to ask you for you to be so specific, but could you expand on that more? Because is that like the logic works the same way, or is that like the physical elements that are there are the same? Because it's quite different. Like it's quite often that if you're trying to solve a problem, that you'll come to quite a logical conclusion. You know, maybe the logic would work in a similar way. We need a more. The eagle one in the plane, that makes sense, right?
Yeah, sure.
The eagle, we're like, oh, okay, we can find this.
Sure, I'll give you an example, right? So I don't know the name of this particular element, but there's actually something which has two legs and it carries cargo, right? And something that we've discovered is actually within the human cell. And you can actually find, if you put in, there's animation videos on this, so obviously we can't see it directly. Now, if you look at human transportation, we've come up with things pretty similar to that, independent of us actually looking into the human cell.
There's a thing in your cells that has two legs.
Yeah, it's like this. It looks like the animation looks like a robot, and it's carrying cargo, and it delivers cargo, and it comes back. Now that particular thing was not observed, and then humans came up with something similar. In fact, humans came up with similar designs before they looked at the cell.
But also you're saying through, was it an animation, like someone has recreated the logic of how that works?
Not the logic of how it works.
How it looks, they animated it.
How it looks, they animated it.
The problem is that the animator, obviously, in order for you to understand the representation of how it works, the animator has animated.
Yeah, but it's for something.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, like that video you've seen, the animation you've seen has gone through someone whose job is visually to animate something.
I see what you're saying. However, what if the animator's representation is an accurate representation of the...
But
but you see what you're doing? But what's it? This is inconsistency. You know what you're doing here? And I'm so sorry. Because what you're doing here is you are trying your absolute best. Look, we're talking about what logical answer here, and all you're doing is you're saying, but what if the animator got it wrong? What if that's not...
He's saying, what if the animator got it right?
What was your name? Alexi, yeah? Alexi, I see that as inconsistency. I see that as double standard. You know why? Because it's like you go about your day-to-day life, you use rational, logical, even when you're crossing the road, and right. But when it comes to the existence of God, you've got so many clauses in there, I have to see it written down. Well, you have, that's what you've done.
Talk about this.
Yeah, that's the one.
Is that all you've done now is look, we're talking about the DNA, which and I'm gonna stick to this. You know why? Because you have to answer if you wish to. You have to answer because you talked about the book information. If there's information, there's an author. I talked about the DNA. I haven't seen anything logical or rational to rebuke that argument. So DNA is information, and if information, there's building blocks, there's RNA, and there's other elements in there that work like a factory. Can you tell me?
Information is how we interpret how.
No problem. Is it still information?
He's talking about
when you have a computer, can we watch you after this? Thank you. Yeah. So the thing is, we have computer. They're the zeros and ones. Yeah. We don't know how that works. I don't know what the hell zeros and ones are. But all I know, it helps my computer to function. So I'm asking a simple question. The DNA, if it has these functions in place, that gives you a lot of things are made in the you are the DNA blocks. What is your basic logical conclusion? Where that came from?
Wait, sorry, say that again. What
is your logical, rational understanding of what could have given rise to this DNA to work in that way?
So you're asking me what is my understanding of how I think, what the reason for DNA working is. No, but this is the thing is, I'm not the one who's saying that I have an answer to how that DNA works.
Why not?
It's the people who are saying God is the designer.
Forget God for a second.
No, but that's the thing. That's the thing is, if somebody said to you, how does this piece of DNA work, right?
How does it work? Why does it work like that?
Why does it work like that? But what does that mean?
Very simple. For example, why did the author write this book? Ira, for example. One reason. Why did this person write this book? I don't know. But what I do know, it was written by someone and there's information. So I'm not asking you why the DNA works like that. I'm asking you, the way it's designed, what's your basic conclusion? Give me an answer.
So you're asking me, I just want to clarify to make sure that I'm answering this. So you're asking me, why does DNA work like
No, why? I'm asking you, for example, you gave example of a book. If there's information, it requires an author. Is that correct?
Intelligence.
If there's information, there has to be intelligence.
DNA has information.
No, but this is the thing: is that we can't compare the information that is writing, which is a way that humans use to communicate, right? That's information, and then suddenly compare it to DNA and say
why not? Why not? One second.
No, not actual letters.
No, it's not actual letters. But what I'm saying is, what I'm saying is, which is more advanced information, this book or the DNA?
The DNA.
Okay. Does this book have an intelligent designer behind it?
No. This book.
Yes, this book. Yeah.
This book does.
Okay.
Any book.
Does the DNA have intelligent design?
I don't know. No.
Okay. Let me get this right. The book has information.
Yes.
It has an author.
Yes.
It's intelligent.
Yes. And the reason reason that I agree that it has a designer is because there's certain things in that book that I can see that indicate to me that a human has made it.
You know that it couldn't have occurred from nature, whereas DNA could have occurred from nature just by unconscious physical processes. There's physics to chemistry to biology.
That's nonsense.
Yeah, evolution is nonsense. We've heard it.
In my life. Can you imagine? Look, check this out. Look at this inconsistency. The book has got limited number of characters. All through intelligence. Okay.
Yeah,
DNA,
but it's all through intelligence because I can see that it's been made by a
no
human,
problem.
right?
You can see that he is believing. Yeah, okay. The DNA is something you can see, okay? And he himself knows. That's why there's smoke on his face. Yeah? You can see, you can observe, you can see the functionality. This is something you can see. I'm going to give it to you.
About the book, right?
Not the book, the DNA. The DNA is something you can observe. You can see how it works.
Okay,
But
you can't see things in the DNA that show you that there's been a designer.
So can I give a concrete example to help both of you? A concrete example you can both argue about. So when you get a hard drive, it's there to save information. Yeah. When you take the human DNA, it can save information in a much more efficient way. So for example, a strip of DNA can be read this way, backwards, and 3D. So therefore, the efficiency is much better, and this is obviously independent. So you two, if you can argue about this point, and we could take it from there.
So you're saying that the DNA, you're comparing a hard drive and a DNA.
It's more efficient. Yes, it works better.
But firstly, the type of information they store is completely different.
No, but no problem. Do they store information?
Huh?
Do they store information?
Well, it depends. It's totally two different fields of.
No problem. Do they store information?
If you say that DNA is information, then it's both things.
Okay, so if there's information, it requires intelligence.
No.
Okay, so this book.
But wait. Let's agree on something, right? Okay. Even if you don't believe in God, you still, as a materialist, would say natural selection designed it. You would still have that.
But exactly. But natural selection designed it.
Where did it come from?
I would say that it's an object that has certain functions, and you could guess. Sorry.
Why does it have those functions?
Because of evolution.
What does that mean? Because of mango?
No, but there is. No. But there is. I don't believe that there is a reason to why this thing exists. It just exists.
So why do you?
I don't feel like I have to. I don't have to explain.
Why don't? But why, Alex? Why don't you do that in your day-to-day life, mate? When you go across the road, why don't you just forget looking left or right?
Well,
just jump straight into the road.
No. Because you're comparing different things. You're comparing nature, which is above everything that encapsulates kind of we live inside that. Okay, so if I'm looking at man-made objects or whatever, then it's easy for me to start to analyze it because I have a lot more reference points. When it comes to the intricacies of a tree or of DNA, then it's a lot more complex, right?
But if it's more complex, it supports your argument further. Okay, you're saying it with your mouth.
That's the point. That's the point we're trying to make.
Boiler water is less complex, but I know somebody made it. There's design.
Yes.
DNA is more complex. Well, I don't know. It's just an object.
The difference is like one object we know doesn't occur by natural processes.
Does not automatically mean like design, and it's not like the hallmark of design.
No, but why are you
like you don't get bonus design points for saying that DNA is way more complex than the book, right? Which is to say, like you got a spearhead, very simple shape, right? Yeah. It looks like it's designed, right? Find a random amoeba-shaped rock, right? This is like this looks like it. Hey man, maybe you think it's designed, but it's got way less design in it, even though it's way more complex shape, right? Alexis already said, hey dude, the tree is way more complex than your iPhone.
Then why don't you?
By the way, that example works against you.
Yeah, go for it.
Because that is the exact point we're making. That okay, when you see a spear and you see say obsidian rock and it has a particular shape, then you're like, okay, but here we're talking about a hard drive, and by the way, we fitted your criteria, which is that something that there was independent human design and independent design in nature.
Yes.
So I don't see why the conclusions that we're making are invalid.
But design. The thing is, if we use the word design for nature, that indicates that it's had that some
designer.
For a specific purpose, that its existence is for a specific purpose.
Yes. Why is that trouble?
Right? But there is, that's because that's how we comprehend things. If everything that we do, we create for a specific purpose, right? So that's why when we start to try and comprehend how, say, a leaf works, we're looking at it from that angle, and so we will automatically look for a designer. But these things are so complicated that they're outside, and in my belief, they're outside our area of comprehension. So whether you go.
But it's outside of your comprehension of logic?
No.
What are you saying? You're saying bye-bye to logic?
No. Our comprehension is the way we comprehend things, okay, is based on our life experience. Right?
What about logic and rationality?
So, for example,
Are you saying...
for logic,
okay,
right?
so
you have a start and a finish, for example,
yes,
right?
okay.
A start and a finish, so that's why we always argue who started the universe.
Can I summarize your point?
One more thing. Then design, right? We say the leaf does photosynthesis because we try and find the reason.
Okay,
right?
so
but
look,
in my belief, it's much more above that in the sense that there are no reasons, but we just can't comprehend that.
Why
We
is
are
there no
looking.
reason?
Okay. So look. In a way, what you're saying is we have a pattern detection system which is in overdrive. That's what you're basically saying. Right.
Yeah.
Now, my argument to that is I don't disagree with the fact that it's possible that human beings could be falling prey to a pattern detection system which is in the overdrive and looking for design where there's no design.
Yes.
However, in this case, it's the opposite. We're not starting off by looking at something and having an overdrive in terms of our pattern detection system. We're starting off with what we can both see are independent devices. One biological, one a human artifact. And we're looking at both of them, and with the human artifact, we're seeing functionality, we're seeing complex, intricate parts working together. The same with the one in nature. Here the inference is design. Here the inference, according to you, is not design. We're trying to figure out why not.
We're applying our logic of storing information to the DNA.
Yes, we are.
Yeah. So we are applying our logic of looking for how things work and how we explain how things work, and then we apply that to the DNA.
But we don't have.
Makes
By the way,
sense for us to communicate.
Sure. But you do realize that apart from using what we can use in terms of our experiences, that is the way that actually science works. That is the way that actually we function as human beings. We have no alternative to that.
Okay, but this is the thing is where I most disagree with the idea of God did it.
We're not saying. You see, we're not saying God did it. All we're saying is.
What we're saying is, I'm not saying you have to. But what I'm saying is, why are you so not afraid, but you just do not anything but a designer? It's like anything. Like we've talked about DNA, we've talked about ball, we've talked about phone, but the results are different. We're talking about, I wouldn't say similar things, but how we come to the conclusions of why one material object is designed, and we apply that to something more complex in design, and the conclusions we arrive at is totally different.
Because on this object, for example, or any man-made object, it's not just the fact that the object works that makes me think it's designed, it's other factors.
No, what are the factors?
Well, as I said, the fact that I know that this was made by a human because it's got writing on it, it's got man-made plastic. So as well as this object working as a bottle, right? It's not the thing that makes me think that it's designed. The thing that makes me think that it's
No. Yes.
When I analyze it,
there is no way. Look, I bet you any money that you would believe this is designed if you never saw any
we
human
cannot
being on this
say that
planet.
because we
Yes,
aren't in that situation.
You can because have you gone to the factory to see this get made?
But we've gone through that.
Have you?
No.
Have you seen a video?
No.
Okay. Why do you believe this is designed?
Well, because I can give you a very clear explanation. For example, it has writing on it, right?
Okay. What does that mean?
Well, let me explain.
Okay.
So humans talk language, right? So I see writing, I can read that writing. It's the same writing that I would write a message with to my friends or whatever. So I'm like, okay, there's a piece of information that tells me that it's made by a human. Okay, it's made. Then I see plastic, right? In my life experience, I've never come across plastic in nature in the form that it is here, and I also know a personal experience that plastic is manufactured. Okay, so and then loads of other bits of information.
The shape maybe?
Well, no, the shape comes along with the plastic, for example, how they mold the bottle.
Okay.
How they mold the bottle to make it manufacturable and whatnot. Okay. So all these things come together in my brain, which makes me think that it's man-made, which makes me think that it's designed.
Thank you. So listen to what you said. You said even if you never saw any mankind, you said I will look at the information. So we're talking with the absence of a human being, a factory. You automatically automatically did what? You went to observe the item, not where it came from. You said, okay, first thing I'll do is observe the item. Okay, a bottle, plastic, molded, information, writing.
Which means that it's human.
I'm doing exactly the same thing with the DNA. I'm looking at it. I know I can't see God or the designer. I'm looking at the product that I have, which is the DNA, information, pattern, molding, functionality, and I'm saying design.
Okay, but define information. So when you say I see information in DNA, define information.
Okay, so
what do you mean by that? As in, this is information, right? Because we've written this down.
No, you understand this information because you speak English.
Exactly,
But for example,
define information in
do you
the
speak
DNA.
Do you speak?
No, I don't.
Okay. If you see some information, you never saw Chinese people ever before, yeah? What's the language? Mandarin, yeah? You're going to be looking at it thinking, oh, that's gibberish. But to a Chinese person, that's not gibberish.
Okay.
It means something. The same thing with DNA. The DNA has information. It has functionality. You don't understand it, but just because you understand it does not mean that there is no information or functionality, and therefore a designer.
Yes, but what makes you think that it's designed other than its functionality?
Because you just did the same thing with the bottle.
No, because it's nothing. Because my reasons for this bottle being designed is nothing to do. What's the function of this bottle?
Why did you?
Hang on a second. What's the function?
Why
of
did
the
you?
bottle?
To drink water.
To drink water. So the function of the bottle is to store water.
Yes.
Correct. Okay. Were any of my reasons for saying that this was designed had anything to do with the function of it?
No, it didn't.
No, it didn't.
Okay.
Okay. So therefore, in my logic, so the logic of that I'm using to decide whether something's been designed is independent of its function.
No problem. DNA.
Okay. So that's why. Let me explain why I'm not being inconsistent. You said the DNA has a function, right?
Let's suppose it doesn't
stores
have a
the
function.
information. It's got function.
No, I would deduce a designer if it had no function.
Because something has no function.
You think everything has a design?
Let's suppose if it had no function. Okay, I would look at, for example, the way it's, for example, it has certain information. Yeah, there's certain things happening which are causing certain effects to happen. So the way your nose looks like that, the way my nose looks like this. Yeah. So I would say I don't need to know the function. What I know is that the information there has causes and effects. So I'm doing the same thing. But
the function of this bottle has causes and effects as well. Whatever.
The function is a supporting argument.
It's irrelevant. No. You're saying that my inconsistencies is that I see something, okay, I say that it's designed, but then when I see nature, I say it's not designed. I'm explaining to you why it's not inconsistent. I'm explaining to you that the reason I say this is designed isn't to do with its function. It's to do with certain factors which clearly tell me that it's
you're
designed.
observing the item. And we're observing the item.
And the information that I'm observing.
No problem, but I'm doing the same thing. Because there's no human in the picture, we're observing the item. I'm observing the DNA in nature. I'm observing it and I'm coming to a logical, rational conclusion. There has to be a designer. You're doing the same thing with the bottom. Why do you do human being? Why human being? Why human being?
Why is this designed?
Yes, why human being?
Well, I've explained to you.
Yeah. So like this guy, Alexei is like looking at the thing and he's comparing it. He's comparing it to other stuff he's seen and other things which are in the world. Right? When you're looking at DNA, the only thing you compare DNA to is other natural stuff.
Well, that's the point, because what you're doing again, it goes back to your argument. Aki wants it.
Can I have one conversation at a time, please?
I'm so sorry. Well, the point is this: just because you can't see God, you are denying Him, and I'm saying that doesn't add up because you're conscious. Can you see your conscious?
Am I conscious?
No. Can you see your consciousness?
No. And I never said I have to see God.
No, but that's what you're doing.
I say I need to see evidence.
If you never saw human beings, you would deduce this to do a human being. You say letters, information, molded.
No,
but when
you're saying if I've never seen human
yes, that's what was my premise. I said if you saw no human being,
and then I wouldn't know language, so I wouldn't be able to see that this is language.
Okay, but would you see shape?
We've been over this in the sense that, I would see a pattern of different lines. Okay.
So say that again. You see what?
If I've never seen humans before, right? We can agree that I wouldn't be able to read.
You wouldn't read, okay.
So that's why this would mean nothing to me.
Yes. No. It would be nothing to you based on information.
No, is in terms of that.
You can't read it.
Not only that, not only would he not be able to read it in the sense of understand it, he wouldn't even recognize these squiggles as a language.
No problem. Yeah. But the point is this: would you not look at that W and be like, why not some other shape? Would you not look at the board and be like, why legit here Why a blue cup there? Why?
He could do it all day and still not come to a conclusion.
I could, maybe you could look at this and you'd think it has totally different.
What would you do? Look. No human being. You saw the bowl.
Right.
You're having a moment with the bowl now, yeah? What's coming to your mind?
You ask whether it could have come about through natural processes or not.
It's completely. If I have no prior
No more
information.
information. You're with a bowl and you're in a cave. It's silent, and you're looking at it. Tell me what comes to your mind.
I mean, firstly, it's completely hypothetical.
Hypothetical. Okay. Hypothetical. Tell me.
Okay, so you're asking me hypothetically if I saw this bottle, what would come to mind? I don't know. I don't know how to answer that.
What do you mean? I don't know. So would you be like?
Okay, so I
I
look
don't
at the
know.
bottle.
I don't know. Would you be saying I don't know?
I see an object, okay, and maybe I start thinking what I could use it for if I wanted to use
Oh,
it.
you give it a purpose.
Well, as in a human would, I'm sure, just a survival instinct, you would try and find purpose in something.
Okay,
wouldn't you?
okay.
So maybe you would see it and you'd look at it, whatever. But that's irrelevant.
So you
because
never ever think.
we're talking. Yeah, but this is the problem.
Would you ever think where this came from?
It's too much of a hypothetical for us to start.
No, it's not.
It is because none of us are in that situation.
No, but
and so we're creating a false kind of reality to start.
No, I'm not. Caves exist. Humans, you exist. Bottle exists.
Yeah, but a situation.
I'm not saying we're in Mars and there's a blue donkey. I'm giving pros.
I mean, it's the same. It's the same as.
Blue exists and Mars exists.
No, it's not. What would come to your mind? Would you think to yourself, what are these things on it?
As I said, it's completely irrelevant as to what we're creating because everybody here and the ultimate question that we're debating, right, which is the existence of God or not, it all is based on our experiences where we do have information that we can see. So it's too much of a we could entertain that discussion.
Please, give me 1 minute and please tell me when you look at this bottle, yeah, and you see, you look at this and you see these patterns. We don't know the information. You see these rigid here. You see these caps. What would you think to yourself where this came from? Would you ever think that?
I probably wouldn't think about where this came from.
So all I'm saying is the fact that you would innately think where this came from is the innate disposition that you have.
No. I said I probably wouldn't think about. I wouldn't.
You wouldn't.
No.
So you just look at this and be like,
I mean, what's the difference? What's the difference between this and that, and then that type of thing?
By the way, do you know if everybody had that attitude, there'd be no science.
Yes.
You'd have no mathematics. You wouldn't have these things. So when you start with that kind of understanding, that okay, I am going to be agnostic.
All of this is based on a completely hypothetical thing. So this doesn't help your argument because it's based.
But it does. It does.
To make your point, you have to be like,
You know
well,
why?
if
No. But I'll explain to you why. Because the whole premise of philosophy is that you can do thought experiments. Yes. You can say if this, therefore that. You can have counterfactuals. Yes. So that's all we're doing. We're going through a process that we go through in everyday life anyway.
yeah, but all you're doing is, let me tell you, I know from a day-to-day life you're a logical, rational man that comes to basic conclusions. You go to your house, you see a plate smashed on the floor. There is no way in hell you're going to say a blue donkey flew through my house and the plate smashed on the floor. Earthquake, the cat. And that's what you're going to do. But our problem with atheists is that when it comes to God and His existence, you would go to the most absurd thinking process, logic, rationality.
Because why would it have to be God? For example, why isn't it something completely different that created the natural process? It could be.
Why everything but not God?
No. It's not about why everything is not God. It's about that I stand in the position where I see an object, whatever. Okay, so I see a tree, and then somebody is coming and making a claim that it is God. And I'm not seeing any reason for why it's God and not something completely different.
Okay, wait, hang on. Wait, sorry, 1 second. You said something completely different. I have no problem.
So maybe,
No, look. I don't have a problem with you saying, it doesn't make sense that it's God.
Something different.
It could be something different, but in this case, you're saying I can't take it any further.
Exactly.
That's the problem.
Sorry, which case is
The case of the bottle, you said, well, I'm not sure, but I'm not making a conclusion here.
Well, I don't like the bottle example because it's too hypothetical. It's too.
You're saying that's your whole brain basically, and then you wake up in a.
Yeah, you're saying that I wired my whole brain.
Okay.
To me, that's not.
Don't mention. No, he's saying saying, forget God. It doesn't. You don't have to say it's God. Give us another rational explanation to the bottle.
Sorry, say again.
Give another explanation, a rational explanation to the bottle. Put God to a side. Give us another rational explanation to the God. I'm not saying you have
To the what? Sorry,
to the bottle. Yeah.
Right.
In the cave. Forget God. Okay. What other explanation?
What are we talking about? We're talking about a bottle, and I'm trying to give it a
you don't need to say its design is God. Give me another explanation to it.
What does that mean? An explanation?
Is it nature? Is it evolution?
Again, it's impossible for me to comprehend how I would think because I'm not in that situation. The simple fact of the matter is, I know that you're asking me, why do you think this bottle's designed and the tree isn't designed? Well, I'm not. My brain isn't white. I told you why I think this bottle is designed and why that isn't designed because of certain things in that bottle, because of my experience of things I know.
But you contradicted yourself.
I'm not contradicting
You did
myself,
because the elements you gave that.
This bottle has information that
The DNA has
doesn't.
information. Yes, it does.
No.
Yes, it does.
That tree does not have writing.
It has DNA.
That tree does not have writing on it, okay? And writing not as information.
DNA is more complex than this information on this.
Yes,
this is
it doesn't matter.
This is like a little minute thing.
Of course.
If you compare it to DNA.
Of course.
But you say DNA, no design, but the bottle.
No. Because this has writing on it, okay?
But the DNA has information in it.
It's not the fact that this is information in the sense of just like an objective piece of information. It's a fact that it's a piece of information that I can attribute to humans, okay? And it has other elements which I can attribute to humans.
Then why do you attribute the DNA to a designer?
Sorry?
Why don't you attribute the DNA and its function to a designer?
But what bit of information do I see in the DNA?
There's so much information. Come on, are you for real?
No.
You know as well. There is so much information in the DNA.
No, of course.
So then how do you not equate it to a DNA? Let's wrap up. But why do you not equate that to a designer?
No, because there isn't things that I see in the concept of DNA that makes me think.
If you study DNA, you'll be mind blown. And if you'll be mind blown, if I told you that DNA is a very, very complex
I know
machine.
that it's very complex.
But if you know that, then why are you not ascribing it to a designer?
Because there isn't factors there that I'm looking at.
There is. We just said the functionality.
Alexi, don't you surely you believe in evolution basically, right?
See, he's trying to go the evolution route. Let's go.
If there's you're always, when you see something, you're trying to work out whether it's designed. You're trying to rule out whether or not it could have come about by an unconscious natural process. And so this the plastic, because of its chemical properties, you know that plastic doesn't just emerge in nature. Same with like silicon in a phone.
Where does it come from? Let me ask. Where do you think the bottle came from?
So the bottle, we know that it must have...
The DNA, sorry.
So the DNA could have come about from an unconscious process like evolution preceded by abiogenesis. And so basically, you have chemicals, and the chemicals react with each other, and eventually you get a chemical that can self-replicate.
Okay.
And then once you have a self-replicator, then it can vary a little bit, it can mutate, and then at that point you basically have the conditions necessary for evolution to occur.
So you believe that that's a possibility to come from there?
So that's
Okay, so let me get this right. So, and this is where I'm seeing where you have
abiogenesis plus evolution.
You have at least said that might be, and even though it sounds to me it's absurd, because you're saying disorder brings about order, unconscious things, random things bring about order, and that is absolutely nonsense. Because if something
aren't evolution.
no, you can't.
It happens in geological examples as well.
No, excuse me. The question is this: no.
You find evolution occurring in cyclic processes.
Evolution has got nothing to do with it. Let me tell you why. If the properties to make a chocolate cheesecake is not in this bottle, it is irrelevant how much time, how much evolution you give it, because the properties to make that is not in the bottle. So when you come and say, what was it? What word do you use? Disorder. The disorder will bring about order. How could something that doesn't have, if we're conscious beings, how could we be given rise to consciousness when the very material itself doesn't have consciousness? It's crazy. But anyways, it was nice talking.
It's cognitive science for the answers to that question.
James, thank you very much as well. But sorry, I got a little bit passionate here.
I think these guys deserve to go to hell now because they aren't recognizing
I never said that, because Islam is the only religion that believes that if the message of Islam hasn't reached the person, he doesn't go hell.
What about atheists?
Not even atheists, Christianity, Hindus, anyone that didn't receive the message of Islam, God is the most just and merciful. It's not going to throw people in hellfire because they didn't hear the message. Thank you very much, Alexis. Thank you. Sorry if I got a bit passionate.
No, dude, it's good. It's good. We're like that too.
Thank you. Okay, so guys, we had a nice discussion here. Obviously, we had to do a bit of, sticking on some people. But yeah, that's it. We're just having a nice conversation. And hope you benefited. Don't forget to subscribe to Dawah Wise, inshallah, and share this video with your friends and family. Goodbye.